Hi, this is E.R. Brooks, and welcome back to Storytime with Brooks. Today we find ourselves in Chapter 4. So without further ado, here is Chapter 4. Chapter 4. What have I done? Faye, 6 years ago. The women of this country learned long ago, those without swords could still die upon them. I fear neither death nor pain. Eowyn, the Two Towers. The night air was calling to me. Run, 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 as the summer court lost itself in solstice revelries, and I forced myself to wait. Impatience tore through me as I floated from one dance to the next, forcing a dreamy smile onto my face while I tried to hide the venom in my mind and the current of electricity that crackled through my veins. The years blurred, and as time passed, I turned myself into a lie to survive, letting the insults hurled at me grow into an impenetrable wall that protected me on all sides. Their own words and assumptions became an illusion that blinded them. The helpless human, the poor victim, the scared little girl, the weakling, too scared to fight, to argue, to run. They were so absorbed in their mockery that they never saw the power that grew within me day by day, the inheritance that was my birthright. They never saw the truth, and I wouldn't let them, not until it was too late. I was a dark nightmare dressed in silk, wearing mocking complacency like a string of pearls as I hid my fangs behind an enamored smile. I was smoke and mirrors, a snake waiting to strike, a hurricane that was going to destroy them all. Freedom was within reach. I was close, so close, and the idea was intoxicating, so strong that I could barely force myself to continue dancing as the night wore on. The potent smell of rain on the edge of the wind pulled at the edges of my mind, begging me to get away as quickly as possible, to run, 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 and never look back. Away. I must get away. Not yet. Not yet. I didn't dare when I could still feel the weight of King Kilon's gaze on me as I danced with Prince Artemis, who looked like he'd rather be somewhere else, stabbing something. We were all pawns in someone else's game. If Ember was here, she'd be standing on the sidelines laughing at me, goading him and making a general nuisance of herself. You are still expected to be at training tomorrow morning, Artemis said curtly. He was dressed in his finest, and his blonde hair was sitting tamely for once beneath the gold and silver circlet that rested on top of his head. His chin was also clean-shaven for the first time in months. He stood taller than I by a good 6 inches, much to my chagrin, and I couldn't help but notice how the muscles of his arms and chest strained slightly against the fabric of his shirt. The tailors did a poor job of fitting his clothes this solstice. "Did you hear me?" Artemis asked, irritation growing in his voice. "I will be long gone by morning." "Answer him, you idiot." "I wouldn't miss it for the world," I quipped, giving him a flirtatious wink. "I do so enjoy our time together." He rolled his bright emerald eyes. "Based on how vehemently you were swearing this morning after I kicked your butt, I'd say that was a lie. I let you win." I shrugged, letting my eyes stay disinterested and petty. "A girl can only do so many push-ups as punishment before she gives up." He smirked. "Poor Grimm. Your life is so hard. You have to do push-ups. Push-ups are the literal worst. That is the least of my worries in this place." The dance ended, and he gave me a low bow before escorting me to the refreshment table. "I suggest you retire soon," he said in a low voice. "Most of the Fae are far enough gone they would not remember that you are protected by the court. That being said, no one would step forward to protect you anyway." "I thought that's what you were here for," I said sweetly, letting my eyes go a little glassy. "Come on, princeling, take the bait. I want to be fully dismissed to my room." He stared hard at me, a muscle in his jaw twitching. "Tell me you weren't stupid enough to sample the drinks," he ground out. I shrugged. "What does it matter when I'm going to die anyway?" I slurred. "It won't matter in the end." He swore, taking my arm as he pulled me back away from the crowd. "It must have hit you all at once. How could you be such an absolute goblin?" he demanded. "You know better than that." "That's it. Take the little goblin away. Let me steal your shiny things. After all, I'm a goblin." "What are you doing?" I asked innocently, knowing full well what he was doing as I leaned heavily into his solid frame. I'm taking you back to your rooms. You're under my command for the duration of your training, and I won't have anyone putting you in danger because you've become stupidly intoxicated and can't defend yourself. Bingo! My knight in shining armor, I cooed. He glared at me as we slowly made our way up the stairs toward the castle, his face half hidden in shadows. We both know you think no such thing about me. Touché, princeling. I shrugged again, deciding it was my safest option. If I gave him a witty remark, he'd know I was faking. Silence wrapped around us. The castle was still, save for the occasional giggle from a deserted corridor or the shuffle of footsteps somewhere on a distant staircase. Do not try to rejoin the festivities, Artemis commanded as he stopped in front of my door, and don't do anything stupid. I would never dream of doing anything stupid. It's beneath me. Why would I do anything stupid? I asked innocently. My pillow is calling my name and I must away, 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 away. I swayed, stepping out and back in, mimicking our dance. Come on, Princey, believe I'm good and wasted. What was the phrase he so kindly used? Ah, yes, nothing but a stupid goblin. He pursed his lips. Yes, you must away. I gave him a sloppy kiss on the cheek. Thank you for protecting me, I whispered. Much to my delight, his face paled a shade and he drew back. How much did you drink? He demanded. He was falling straight into my lie, hook, line, and sinker. Enough to forget, and forget, and forget. My words were turning into a slow sob as I started to theatrically sniff, letting the grief I buried deep inside my mind rise to the surface for just a moment. I just wanted a night where I can fall asleep and not remember. The doorknob was slick beneath my sweaty palms. I was so close, yet one wrong misstep and I would blow it all up. One wrong move and he would realize I was playing him like a violin. He was too smart for his own good sometimes. Remember what? Artemis asked quietly as he reached forward and opened the door for me. I gave him a grateful smile as a tear rolled down my cheek. Everything you've taken from me. I miss them, Artemis. I miss them so much. They'll be here soon enough, he replied quietly. I can feel their magic on the wind already. Oh no, you did not just say that. I'm going to kill him. Hold my charade. Shut up. You can't break your act yet. I don't want them to come here, I whispered desperately. Don't bring them to this place of nightmares. His eyes were distant. Their fate cannot be stopped, Faye. They must come. The kingdoms need their power. For a moment, I could almost believe there was something close to regret in his voice. But I knew the Fae. They were incapable of regret. He was no different than the rest, and I could never let myself forget that, especially in these small moments of kindness. Now go to sleep, he said gently. I'll be back at dawn for training. I nodded sleepily, turning over his words in my mind as I stumbled into my room. Why would he be back? I was perfectly capable of getting to the training grounds on my own. I did it every morning, for heaven's sake. He closed the door behind me, and I got my answer. The door groaned, and interior bolts slid into place, one after the other, effectively sealing me into the room. That was not part of the plan. Necessity is the mother of invention, and apparently paranoid princes are too. I silently shed the magnificent aqua blue dress, trading it for my black training clothes and all the weapons I had secretly acquired over the last 2 solstice cycles. The window would have to be my escape route. It was hardly ideal, especially if I was seen, but it was my only option. I wouldn't get another chance like this for a long time, and every day I spent in the realm was a day that put my sisters in even more danger. Patience is a virtue. Certainly not one I possess. My window and balcony were bathed in shadows, and the sky was an endless black above me. The new moon and heavy clouds from the summer storm that was brewing gave aid to my escape by throwing the world into a deep darkness. The drop was dizzying, but I steeled my will as I clambered down the vines that grew up the castle wall. At last, I stood on solid ground, proud of my accomplishment and reeling from the knowledge that if I had slipped, I could have died. There was no time to ponder such a fact. I had precious little of it to waste. I crept my way through the underbrush, careful to make as little noise as possible. Faye could see in the dark, an ability that I had only just begun to acquire, so silence was crucial. If I drew any attention to myself, it would all be over. The minutes dragged. It took eons to reach the edge of the castle grounds, and longer still to find the narrow dirt path that would take me to the eastern gate. At last, I found the pale, worn dirt at the edge of the trees that led deep into the woods, and with a final glance behind me to make absolutely certain I was alone, I began to run. I had only a few hours before the sun rose, and then Artemis would discover my treachery. It wouldn't be long before they were hot on my heels. I won't go back. I won't. I'll die before I go back. I ran and ran, my stamina holding steady, and I was at last grateful for the endless drills and cardio that Artemis had forced me to do. I'm sure helping me escape had not been his intention when he made me do it, but I would happily misuse whatever tools he gave me if it meant getting away from this place. At last, as the night began to fade, the eastern gate loomed in front of me. A rush of joy spread through my chest. I had made it. I was going to get out of here and find my way through the moors. Going to make it home. Howls split through the dimming darkness around me, and my joy spluttered, turning into a pit of fear deep in my core. I knew that sound, and it meant naught but pain. How did they know? The sun hasn't even risen yet. He shouldn't have discovered what I've done yet. I desperately put on a surge of speed, begging my feet to carry me faster as large shapes began to blur through the woods beside me. No, no, no! The first one lunged, and I dodged, drawing my sword in a single fluid motion that sliced the blade across the creature's neck. It fell with a vicious snarl, dark blood pouring from the wound and staining the dirt. I buried my horror as I turned my attention to the ones that remained. Two more drew alongside me, and I couldn't stifle the scream as they lunged. My blade flashed, and I jabbed before rolling, landing in a crouch as the hounds doubled back to circle me. Deep gouges marred their sides, but they edged toward me, unheeding of their wounds. 1, 2. Dread rolled over me as a third joined the ranks, and they closed in on me, forming a semicircle. I scrambled backward, drawing my second sword with a snarl. 3 in front, 1 on the ground. That makes 4. The king's hounds always traveled in groups of 5. Where is number 5? There was a growl behind me, and I realized my mistake 2 seconds too late. Behind me! The hound's jagged teeth sank into my shoulder before I could get out of the way. Agony rushed over me as my arm went numb. My sword fell from my limp fingertips and clattered to the ground. This is not how this was supposed to go. I did not think of a way out of this situation when making my brilliant escape plan. I gritted my teeth, trying to push through the overwhelming pain and summon my inheritance from the depths of myself. Thunder cracked above me, and I swung my uninjured arm behind me as the air hissed, charged with electricity. A bolt crashed down, colliding with my blade and rushing toward the hound. Please, please, please. Time slowed to milliseconds. The hound wrenched me to the side, and my forehead slammed into the jagged bark of a tree trunk. My lightning disappeared as my concentration shattered. The sword flew from my desperate fingertips, sinking into the side of the second hound, who fell writhing to the ground. No, 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 wrong hound. That wasn't the one I was trying to kill. Wrong. It all went wrong. The world was at last thrown into darkness as the blow overwhelmed my system. The panicked thoughts tore me apart as I slipped into oblivion. The game is up. No more pretending. King Keon is going to kill me now. At last. I get to die at last. Pain was the first thing that drew me back to consciousness, and my screams echoed around the room as I writhed and arched on the floor. Every nerve was ripping itself apart, every inch of me engulfed in flames. Make it stop! Make it stop! Goblin blood, make it stop! See, I told you that would wake her up. Queen Lilith's smooth voice said from somewhere above me. I should never doubt you, my dear, King Keon replied, his voice full of lustful pride. Failed. The cards are out now, and I've lost my bet. You almost had me fooled, little Grimm, King Keon purred. You're quite a good actress. I'm surprised that you waited so long to reveal your true strength and try to escape. I groaned, trying to collect myself enough to crawl to my hands and knees. I have to get up. I have to get up. My ears popped and noise rushed through my ears. Laughter was echoing around the room. Voices, so many voices and bodies stirring around me. I had been brought into the presence of the entire court. Not good. Not good. More pain, and with it more screams that I couldn't contain. I was sobbing as it ripped me to pieces over and over again until at last King Killon quietly murmured something to Queen Lilith, and it stopped. Get up, he commanded. I rolled over, the rune on my shoulder burning as the command sliced through me. I didn't want to obey, but I didn't have a choice. The pain from resisting became unbearable. I bit my lip and tasted blood as I forced myself up. My entire body was shaking as my magic struggled to repair the damage done by the hounds. My right arm hung limply at my side. I raised my head and defiantly glared up at King Killon and Queen Lilith. How dare you run? You belong to the court, King Killon snarled as he walked down the steps toward me. I belong to no one, I spat vehemently, letting the lie I had been constructing about myself shatter around me once and for all. Blood from my ruined shoulder was dripping from my limp fingertips onto the polished floor. Stupid mutt. He stood before me now, and I barely felt his hand as he slapped me hard across the face, knocking me to my hands and knees. Renewed pain screamed from the wound, and it took every ounce of strength to keep the cry of pain from bursting out of my split lips. I was not going to show him any weakness if I could help it. I spat a mouthful of blood onto the black onyx floor by his feet, declaring my defiance. I have tolerated being helpless long enough. It's time I reminded them I have teeth. Chomp, chomp. Shut up. I picked myself back up, raising my chin and glaring at him in contempt as sparks rushed from my bloodied fingertips. If you want a fight, I'll give you a fight. The court sucked in a breath collectively, waiting to see what the king would do for my obvious defiance. His eyes narrowed and he stared coldly at the blood on the floor and then the flashes of lightning that flickered across my fingers. He looked as if he was debating how to kill me in the most painful way. Great. This was a brilliant idea. As if you weren't already digging your own grave. I will not be used as a pawn any longer. Look around, genius. You've been a pawn since day one. What do you think he's going to do to you now? I am not afraid of death. Yeah, that's real noble of you. Very selfish. What about me, huh? Did you think about me? No, you decided to be an insolent hero. I glanced over to where Marcus was usually hidden in the shadows, hoping I wouldn't see him there. Some distant part of me didn't want him to see me die. My heart fell as I saw my friend watching the scene unfold, horror written across his face. Prince Artemis stood beside him, his features masked into that dull neutrality. His features masked into that of dull neutrality. His eyes were the only thing that gave him away, conveying his rage at me as he watched the scene unfold. Get the boy, the king said at last as his magic rolled over me in a heavy wave. The sparks at my fingertips died, and I went rigid as it slowly began to suffocate me. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. The court murmured and shifted as two guards withdrew from the throne and disappeared. Terror unexpectedly ripped through me. What did Clegg have to do with anything? He was supposed to kill me if I failed, not drag Clegg into this. What have I done? What have I done? After a few moments of silence, all of which held no air for me, the guards dragged him forward. Clegg was a boy no older than 6, and undeniably human. He had been here for almost a month, and was being used as a slave after they had stolen him from somewhere in the mortal realm. Marcus had taken him in, protecting him as best he could, and I had helped him whenever the opportunity arose. Until now. King Killon walked toward me, an intricate knife materializing in his hand as he drew closer. My eyes focused on the serrated edge as I pushed down a wave of fear. I stared him down as he approached, but at the last moment fear won out. I can't watch him kill me. I screwed my eyes shut, bracing myself in quiet relief for what was about to happen. Clegg had nothing to do with it. He's safe. Thank goodness he's safe. King Killon is probably just using my death as an example to him not to run. At last, an end to the nightmare. Nothing happened. I opened my eyes in confusion. The king stood directly in front of me, eyes narrowed in malicious amusement. The mighty Grimm, too cowardly to look death in the eye, he crowed as he reached out and gripped my chin, forcing me to look at him. No, you are of no use to me dead, but a lesson must be learned. He shoved the knife into my hand. Kill the boy, he demanded. Blood must be shed for your insubordination. My entire being was in revolt as my mind struggled against the pull of my body. Everything within me was screaming, "Obey!" No, 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 I won't, I won't! Agony. Everything was agony, burning through my shoulder deep into my heart. I screamed as I threw down the knife and the room went silent. No one had ever been able to defy King Kilon, especially if they'd been marked. Just kill me and get it over with, I spat, air dwindling in my lungs. I will not be your assassin. I waited in silence, preparing to die. There was no way he'd let me live after proving I could disobey. The last ace in my hand. I watched in silence as he reached down to pick up the knife, pondering the blade with an unreadable look on his face, prepared to die. Before I realized what was happening and could brace myself against the pain, he slashed the blade deep across my side. I was not prepared for the fire that exploded and raced across my skin. The blade must have been cursed. I had borne wounds of this caliber before, but they had never reaped the inferno that now enveloped my senses. I couldn't hold in my scream this time. My legs gave out and I fell forward. My shoulder slammed into the icy floor before my hands could catch me. Oh, but you will, the king said quietly. He knelt down and pulled my head up, fingers knotted in my hair. Pain screamed from my skull. His mouth was close, too close to my ear. I could hear the saliva shift against his tongue as he licked his lips, the undeniable control slamming into me as he murmured, "You forget that I know where 2 other young girls are. 2 girls I happen to know you are very fond of. You watch them through the mirrors when you think you're alone. You watch as they continue to grow up without you. Time moving far too fast to be a reality. 2 seasons. It's only been 2 seasons." But there was no denying it. Every word was true. The world around me swayed and shifted, and spots danced at the edges of my vision as I pushed myself up to my hands and knees, unable to suppress my moan of pain from the effort. He can't. I won't let him. Please, no, not them, not them. The air by his shoulder shimmered and twisted. It no longer showed the dais or the thrones behind him, but a window into another life. My life. The life they had stolen from me. My family was at home, eating supper at various spots in the kitchen. Ember and Dad were avidly discussing something, making wild gestures with their slices of pizza while Vanny pushed her food around on her plate, pretending to eat as she slipped bites down to the dog at her feet. Mum refereed the debate going on between the other two, unaware of how little Avadny was actually eating. No, 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 no! This can't be happening. I won't let this happen. And how are you going to stop him? You have no choice. I screamed as he grabbed me by my injured shoulder and dragged me to my feet with one hand, digging his sharp nails into the wound. Fire was exploding across my chest and down my side. I could hardly breathe as he shoved the knife into my shaking fingers. "End it," he hissed. "And remember, as the blood covers you and blackens your soul, that I own you. You will never again run away, and you will never again dare to defy me. You are guilty, and it is because of your own actions and decisions that the boy pays the price. You will forever be drowning in his blood." The commands sliced through me, but I fought them nevertheless. I would never stop running. I would never stop defying him. "I'll kill you. I swear you will pay for this. I'll burn your kingdom to the ground." My body was turning toward Clegg, who trembled in the guard's grasp. "I can't. I won't. Killing one to save another does not justify the murder." My strength was gone. There was nothing left to fight it as the command cut through me, every syllable propelling me forward. Please, no, 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 no. If I don't do this, they'll die. They'll die anyway. It will only delay the process. The handle was ice cold in my hand, and Clay's eyes widened in fear as the blade trembled in my grasp. I hesitated for a moment, considering one last act of defiance. Did I have the strength to defy him one last time? Did I have the ability to fully carry it out? If I plunged the blade into my own chest, it would steal his victory. He would stop me. Besides, if I tried, he'd kill him and Evadne. I raised the knife, no longer daring to fight the control of his magic, the power within the command. The words pulsed through me, and I hated myself for the murder I was about to commit. Kill the boy. Kill the boy. Oh, no, no. I have to save them. Not like this. This won't save them. I don't have a choice. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I have to protect them. Forgive me, I whispered desperately before I screwed my eyes shut and swung my arm forward. The blade sunk into the soft skin of his throat, the quickest death I could give him, and his screams pierced my ears, tearing apart the last shreds of my soul. I knew what I had done. I knew that I had stopped fighting the command, that I had chosen to let it push me to this unspeakable horror for the lie of saving my sisters, and by the triumph in King Killon's eyes, he knew it too. Clay's gurgling moan echoed around the silent room, and I retched onto the ornate floor. Make it stop. Please, make it stop. Silence greeted my ears as truth condemned me for what I had allowed myself to do. I don't deserve to escape this place of nightmares. I deserve so much worse. May the darkness take me for what I've done. There's no going back from this. No one can save me from the monster I've become. Tune in next week for Chapter 5, and as always, thank you for your support and for watching the video, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. I'll catch you later. Bye.